Bluegrass Jam Along is proud to be sponsored by Collins Guitars and Mandolins, each and every one built from the sound up in Austin, Texas. This episode is also brought to you by Peghead Nation, the home of roots music instruction. If you want to improve your playing, join me and thousands of other pickers getting better every day at pegheadnation.com. Hi, this is Matt and you're listening to Bluegrass Jam Along, the podcast for anyone and everyone who loves bluegrass. Hey everybody, welcome back to another week on Bluegrass Jam Along, and this is your Bluegrass Briefing for Monday the 13th of May 2024. Last week on the podcast we had an interview with Dave Cinco, sort of legendary sound engineer. Lots of live work with Punch Brothers, lots of work on cool records like Edgar Meyer's Uncommon Ritual. Fascinating conversation, so much to learn from Dave, and what a lovely guy. If you didn't listen to that, go back and listen to it. I heartily recommend it. And a bit of a left field episode coming out this week. I've got an interview with an author for you, and he hasn't written a book about bluegrass or American music or acoustic music or in fact music at all, but it's an author called Oliver Berkman. He's written a book called 4,000 Weeks, which its subtitle is Time Management for Mortals. And it's not really about time management, and I'll explain to you why I've interviewed him. I read this book a few years ago and found it super useful. So many of us in the position of maybe not being professional musicians or being kind of gigging musicians who have to fit music in around other stuff, kind of getting that balance right can be really tricky, and it's a wonderful book about how to fit the things that you really care about into your life. And I found it really inspiring, and it really helped me make space in my life for music again, but it also really helped me when I started doing this podcast to just do it and not overthink it and not wait till I had the right gear or I knew enough stuff, or just to get on with it. And I hope that there's something in this conversation that you will all find useful. I genuinely think you will. And so that's coming out on Wednesday, and I'll put that out and I'll remind you all then. But I really do think it's such a powerful conversation for musicians. There's so much in there, which is why I wanted to interview him. But you can judge for yourself. It's coming out on Wednesday. Check that out. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Clay Burgett from Columbus, Ohio, who wrote in to tell me how much he's enjoying the podcast, and it made my day. You have no idea. I sit in my little room doing these podcasts and I love it and I have a great time. But it's a lot of work and it's a lot of pressure sometimes amongst everything else. And I do it because I love it. But it's sometimes you open your emails and there's something from somebody telling you how much they appreciate what you do. And it just, I was having one of those days where I had a couple of weeks ago where I didn't put an episode out and I was just busy and felt a bit stressed by it all. And getting a message just saying I really love the podcast was so nice. So thank you, Clay. I don't think you would realise how much that meant to me. It was lovely, and I know I'm not asking for any amount of sympathy for putting this podcast together. I love it. It makes my day every day I do it. But it was so nice just to get a message saying thank you for it. So thank you to Clay. That's enough rambling about that. Let's move on. We have got news and announcements, which is a section we call Church Street News. And first up, just a reminder that the third annual North Carolina Guitar Celebration is coming up on June the 1st, and Bryan Sutton's annual event, featuring, of course, Bryan Sutton, but also Del McCoury, Jerry Douglas, Sarah Watkins and Sean Watkins. Who else? Chris Eldridge, Jake Workman, Courtney Hartman, Michael Daves, Charlotte Kerovic from over here in the UK. So many cool people. That'd be an amazing night of music. Do go and check that one out. And something else that promises to be quite special is the announcement that Billy Strings and Chris Thiele are going to kick off Telluride. There's loads of stuff up now on the Telluride website, and I'll stick a link in the show notes, like I will for the North Carolina Guitar Celebration, so you can go and read a bit more and check it out. But yes, having seen those few videos they put out recently, a duet show between Chris Thiele and Billy Strings looks like it will be a lot of fun. So if you're going to Telluride, that'll be something to mark on your programs to go and see. If you're not going to Telluride, maybe it's an excuse to go to Telluride. But that is it for this week's news and announcements. Coming up is the new releases, which is The Grass is New. And a couple of bits for you this week. What have we seen? There's a new single from Jason Carter and Michael Cleveland called Give It Away, which is great. Go and check that out. I've put it in the Grass's Mostly New playlist. Go and have a listen to that. Two of my favourite fiddle players. What's not to like about that? Glorious stuff. And also another single from Rebecca Frazier. You may remember I mentioned a couple of weeks ago she had a new single out. And there's another one called Available featuring Trey Hensley, which I've also put on the playlist. So go and check that out as well and have a listen to that. She's got a new record coming, I believe, at some point later in the year. But yeah, check that out. Rebecca's great and I love Trey as well. So that's another what's not to like situation going on there. So Jason Carter and Michael Cleveland's Give It Away and Rebecca Frazier's Available featuring Trey Hensley. Go check them out, have a listen and enjoy. Which leads us on to Scroll On Buddy, which is the thing I've spotted on social media. And this week, I have spotted Bob Minner. I like Bob Minner a lot. Bob has some new stuff coming out, and he's got a single called Castles in the Air with John Cowan. And Castles in the Air is the Don McLean track. You may well know from the 70s, sort of famous song. And I'm really looking forward to hearing that. It's out on radio now. I haven't heard it anywhere because the kind of radio it is out on is not the kind of stuff I get to listen to over here in the UK very much. But I'm looking forward to it hitting the streaming services so I can have a listen. And when it does, I will stick out the playlist and I'll remind you all. But I'm a huge Don McLean fan. Great songwriter, wonderful voice, very, very good guitar player as well. I mean, I grew up sort of listening to the American Pie album and also Tapestry. Two of my favourite records of all time. I love Don McLean, classic stuff. So looking forward to hearing Bob and John's take on Castles in the Air. That is a glorious song. And it just leaves me to tell you what is in my ears this week. And I've been listening to the first Goat Rodeo Sessions record. Chris Thiele, Stuart Duncan, Edgar Meyer and Yo-Yo Ma. I've heard so many of the records, like Edgar and Chris's records and the kind of the records Edgar made with Yo-Yo and Mark O'Connor and Mike Marshall and Bela Fleck and so much stuff in that space, but I've never really listened to that first Goat Radio Sessions record, and it is superb. It's fun, it's playful, it's tuneful, it's intense in places, it's exciting. There's some lovely singing from Aoife O'Donovan in there too. Just a great record. Really, really enjoyed it. So I'm going to be listening to that again this week and listening to the second one, I reckon, as well. Somehow just never quite found the time for that amongst all the other stuff. There's so much music. But yeah, really enjoying that Go Radio Sessions. I'm sure loads of you know that already. But that is it for this week. Usual stuff. Go to bluegrassjamalong.com where you will find hundreds of episodes, loads of so many interviews, so many fiddle tunes, all the chord sheets, links to stuff you can get in touch and say hi, links to all the platforms, everything, it's all on there. bluegrassjamalong.com. But that is it for this week. The interview with Oliver Berkman will be with you on Wednesday, and I've got another couple of interviews I'm recording this week, some really cool stuff coming up, so keep your eyes and ears peeled over the next week or two. Follow me on social channels if you want the news, or sign up for the email list which is on the website. But that's it. Have a great week. I will see you soon, and happy picking. Bluegrass Jam Along is proud to be sponsored by Collings Guitars and Mandolins, making some of the finest guitars and mandolins in the world since the 1970s. Visit collingsguitars.com and find out why.